The story about terrorism is one where organizations prey on political chaos and instability. They fill ungoverned spaces where there are rival power centers. And what they do is they harness that to their advantage. That's what we've seen in Libya. We've seen a little bit of that in Yemen, where the recent air raid, the recent ground raid took place yesterday. You just made a very good point about Libya and the chaos there. I spent a not insignificant amount of time on the ground there, and the people who seem to be fomenting the most chaos in Libya at a time was the Qataris, who have had, shall we say, a complicated relationship with terrorism and funding it, and then anti-terrorism operations. Jenna yesterday was talking to former Secretary Bob Gates about just the issue of the Qataris. Here's what he had to say, and then we'll talk about it.
I said, we can't get this relationship back on an even keel until you begin to deal with some of these issues. And I have to confess that there was a good deal of nodding and explanation, but we didn't see much change.
So we had President Trump meeting with the Qataris, with the Saudis, who all promised things were going to get better. Much of ISIS's funding, hard to connect all the dots to Manchester, but much of ISIS's funding has come from the Qataris. Will they ever change their tune, you think?
Well, it's no secret that all of the UAE, to include Qatar and Saudi Arabia, were late to the game when it comes to combating terrorism. I think with Qatar in particular, there's this complex and sort of contradictory relationship we've got with them, where on the one hand, we coordinate with them very closely militarily. A lot of the ground and air raids that the United States has launched over the last 3 years have come out of an air base that the Qataris have opened up to us inside their country, which is a good thing on the one hand. On the other hand, the United States Treasury has been at war with the Qatari royal family, a sort of rhetorical public war with them over the issue of combating terrorist financing. Yeah. The Treasury Department believes that they allow terrorist financiers to operate with impunity inside the country, and that's something I think the Trump administration wants to crack down on.
Yeah, and it's one thing to also to finance terrorists. It's easy to cut that money off. It gets a lot more complicated when it's financing charities and then the Wahhabi preachers and the satellite networks and everything else. Gillian Turner, always appreciate your insights